Welcome to the video on constructing perpendicular bisectors and angle bisectors. Obviously, in order to complete this video successfully, you're going to need to have your compass and your straight edge available. And as always, thank you for the gift of your time. And please do make the most of that time as you watch this video and make sure that you're watching for understanding. If there's something that you don't catch or that doesn't make sense, take a couple extra seconds and rewind the video, watch it again. So again, you understand when this is done and you've made your time count for something. All right, if and when you forget the steps for constructing the perpendicular bisector, they're right here in your notes. I'll toss a link on my website so that you can go there. Or you can always refer back to the video. So lots of options if you need to come back and review the steps for constructing the perpendicular bisector. So basically, we're going to go ahead and start with step 1, which says open the compass to a radius setting that's greater than 1/2 the length of the line segment that we're trying to bisect. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to bisect EF. I'm going to do exactly what it said in step 1 above. We're going to go to a radius setting that's slightly larger than 1/2 the length of our line segment. And then using point E as a center, we're going to go ahead and draw an arc above the line segment and an arc beneath the line segment. I think I'm going to try to go with red. And then I'm going to keep that same exact compass setting, and I'm going to flip my compass around, and I'm going to move my compass, or the point of my compass, to point F. And I'm going to go ahead and draw 2 more arcs, and they only have to be big enough so that they intersect the arcs that you drew in the first step. At this point, I'm done with my compass. I'm going to grab my straight edge, and I'm going to use my straight edge to connect this point of intersection on top of the line segment with the point of intersection on bottom of the line segment. And these specific directions say label the midpoint M. So I'm going to grab my pen. Hopefully I can undo that move, which I don't even quite know how I accomplished that. But there's my midpoint M. Because this is the perpendicular bisector, it forms a right angle with line segment EF. And it also slices line segment EF into 2 equal parts. So I can mark line segment EM congruent to line segment MF. So this is a pretty useful and nifty construction because not only does it allow us to bisect line segments, it allows us to find midpoints. And in addition, it also allows us to construct or create right angles. So we can get a lot of mileage out of this one, folks. All right, let's go ahead and flip up to the top of the next page. It says use your compass and straight edge to bisect the segment below. Once completing the construction, label the parts that are congruent. All right, so again, I'm going to go ahead, put the point of my compass at one end of my line segment. I'm going to extend my compass so that it's open greater than 1/2 the length of the line segment. I like to start by drawing one big arc. Keeping the compass setting the same, I'm going to flip it around and go put the point of my compass at the other end point. And now the second time around, I only have to go big enough so that my arcs will intersect the original arc. So I'm going to draw one down here, rotate the compass, draw a second one down here. And at this point, I'm done with my compass, grab my straight edge, and go ahead and connect this point of intersection of the arcs that's above the line segment with that point of intersection that's beneath the line segment. Again, I think this is such an amazing construction because number 1, we found the midpoint. Number 2, we created some right angles. And number 3, we created some congruent line segments. Excellent. Down at the bottom, it says use the compass and straight edge to bisect each side of the triangle below. So I'm going to go ahead and do this on my paper if you want or need the assistance. If you feel like you're ready to go ahead and bisect each one of those line segments, feel free to pause the video and go ahead and bisect each one of those line segments. It's really a matter of you getting what you need out of the video at this point. I'm also going to color code my arcs just because this construction is going to get pretty busy as we go through it. We're going to be constructing from each side or each line segment in the triangle. So I'm going to go ahead and do my first arcs for the bottom side of that triangle in red. And I'll probably do each ones as we go in a different color. So there's my first perpendicular bisector for the bottom side of the triangle. Now I'm going to move over and do the same thing, but this time for the left side of my triangle. So my blue arcs now are for the left side of my triangle. So I'm going to use my compass or my straight edge to connect where the blue arcs intersect. That segment would therefore be the perpendicular bisector for the left side of my triangle. And I guess for the right side I'll use green. So a nice big arc, no wimpy wussy arcs for me here. And again, if you're doing this right, this construction is going to be a little bit dirty. It's going to be a little bit sloppy. Do the best you can to keep your arcs clear so that you'll know where to connect your points of intersection. So there's my third perpendicular bisector. And it's important to notice that this construction is to create or construct the perpendicular bisector of a line segment. All right, which brings us on to the next one, and that is bisecting a given angle. So this one, or this time, we're going to go ahead and we're going to create or construct the bisector of a given angle. And of course, if you forget how to do this construction, you can always come back into the notes. These steps right in here will lead you through step by step. You could rewatch the video. I'm also going to add a link to my website that you should find helpful if and when you need to review how to construct the bisector of an angle. All right, so number 4 says bisect angle XYZ and label the congruent parts. So if we go ahead and follow the instructions that were given to us up at the top of the page, I'm going to go ahead and put the point of my compass at point Y, the vertex of my angle. I'm going to go ahead and extend my compass to any convenient compass setting, and I'm going to draw a nice arc that intersects both sides of my angle. I'm going to pay very close attention to the 2 points where the arc intersects the side of my angle, because those are going to become the centers of my new circle. At this point, I can change the compass setting if I so desire. I don't have to, but it's not inappropriate to change it. I am going to switch mine up a little bit. And using that first point of intersection as the center, I'm going to go ahead and draw a second arc. Kind of wanted that one to be red. There we go. And here's where it's important. Keeping that same exact compass setting, I'm going to go up here to the second point of intersection. And I'm going to draw a second arc. And once that's done, I'm simply going to grab my straight edge, and I'm going to use my straight edge to connect the vertex of my angle to that point where my 2 arcs intersect. When we get to the unit on congruent triangles, we'll talk more about the hows and whys of why this works and how come it's the angle bisector. But for now, it's good for you to know that those 2 angles that you created in there, angle 1 and angle 2, are congruent, which makes that ray that we constructed the bisector of our angle. All right, let's jump up to the top of the next page and let's try another one. Number 5 says construct the bisector of the angle below. Label your congruent parts in your finished construction. So I'm going to go ahead and jump in here. I'll toss the point of my compass on the vertex of the angle. And again, you can stretch this compass out so it's any convenient compass setting. But when you draw this arc, it has to be a nice big arc that intersects both sides of your angle. Because we're going to take those points of intersection, and those are going to become the centers of our new circle. So I'm going to pay close attention to where those arcs intersect. Because this is a nice big obtuse angle, I'm going to open up my compass setting nice and wide. This time I'll go for blue arcs. Spin that compass around and make that other point of intersection my next center. And again, what I really want to focus in on is I want to focus on connecting the vertex of my angle to the point where those two blue arcs intersect. And that is my angle bisector. And because that's my angle bisector, it makes these two angles in here, I'll label them angle 1 and angle 2, congruent to each other. All right, last one down at the bottom of the page. It says use your compass and your straight edge to bisect each angle in the triangle below. So again, if you're feeling comfortable with this construction and want to go on ahead, definitely feel that I don't want to hold you back. Feel comfortable in going ahead. But if you need someone to walk you through this step by step, that's what we'll do. So I'm going to go ahead and start with this first angle in the lower left-hand corner. I might make the vertex of this guy green. Maybe I'll make all my constructions that go along with bisecting this angle green just to keep everything straight, because we know from the previous construction that we did where we bisected each side of the triangle, we know that this one is probably going to get a little sloppy. So once that first arc is drawn on there, I'm going to focus in on these 2 points of intersection, and I'm going to go make them the centers of my next couple of circles. And again, I'm going to make these arcs just big enough till I can find that point of intersection, trying to kind of keep things small with the idea in mind that this is going to become very busy by the time things are said and done. All right, so I'm going to move that compass out of the way because now I want to go connect the vertex of my angle right through that point where those 2 green arcs intersect. And that is my angle bisector. So I'm going to go ahead and label these 2 guys as congruent. So that's the left vertex. I've bisected the left angle or the left vertex in that triangle. I think now I'll go do the one up at the top. So this is the angle I'm going to tackle next. I'm going to move the point of my compass right up there to that top vertex. Draw a nice big arc that intersects both sides of my angle. And again, at this point, those 2 points of intersection are going to become the focus or the points of my next circle. I'm really glad that I color-coded this because, as you can tell, this construction already is getting very busy. Busy is probably a very nice word. All right, I'm going to grab my straight edge and I'm going to connect the vertex of this angle to the point where those purple arcs intersect. All right, so there's my second angle bisector. I'm going to mark those 2 angles. Oh, I have no idea what just happened there. Let's see if we can get this back in here. There's my picture. Excellent. I want to mark those 2 angles congruent to each other, but not to the first one. So I'm going to mark each of those 2 guys with 2 arcs, indicating that they're congruent to each other, but not the angles that I bisected in blue. All right, and then this last angle down here, I'm trying to make him red. And that's going to be the last angle that I bisect. So all these constructions or all these arcs I'm going to do in red just to avoid confusing them with the first angle and the second angle, which were green and then purple. So again, once I draw that initial arc, these 2 points of intersection become the focus or the centers of my next 2 circles. I'm going to go ahead and get the second pair of arcs in there. I'm done with my compass, so I'll get that out of the way. Go ahead and connect this vertex to the point where those red arcs intersect. And I'm going to extend this because something kind of cool happens with this construction. Those red angles I want to label congruent to each other, but not congruent to any of the others that I drew so far. So I'm going to label those each with 3 arcs. And I guess just notice something kind of cool that happened with my construction is that all 3 of my angle bisectors intersected at 1 point. That's going to be a big idea when we get to the unit on triangles, but for now it's good enough that you're able to bisect the angles in the triangle. If you're still having trouble with this, remember that I'm going to put some links up on my website to connect you to angle bisectors, and you should be able to walk through those constructions step by step, which should be helpful. As always, my thanks, my gratitude for the gift of your time. And the next time you come back to class, we will be working on practicing some of these constructions.